Hello, I'm Emily. I work at Regency Pet right now, and I started my career. Well, so actually, back up a little bit. I went to high school in Anne Arundel County. I went to Northeast High School and graduated from there. From there, I went to the University of Tampa for my freshman year, and I actually transferred from there to Salisbury University and finished out the rest of my college career there and got my degree in accounting. While I was in school at Salisbury, I did a couple internships in the accounting field. Most of them were at KPMG, which is a public accounting firm in the Baltimore area. It's also all over the country and in other countries as well. So it's a big national firm. And there my internship was in auditing. And so during my internship there, I learned a lot about the different soft skills you need, kind of in the professional business setting, how to talk to clients, how to interact with your team members and stuff like that. And while I was there, they offered me a full-time position for when I graduated college. So I started with them right out of college, full-time in the Baltimore, downtown Baltimore area. And while I was working there, I had enough time to study for my CPA, which is Certified Public Accountant. And so it takes a lot of studying, a lot of preparation to do that, but it's definitely a good certification to have in the accounting field. It's not required to have a job in accounting. You can still have different career paths without getting your CPA, but it definitely puts you ahead of your peers and kind of allows you to go further with your career by having that. So I worked in public accounting for a while. And so what you do there is, as an auditor, you go to different companies and you go in and make sure what they say is on their books is what they actually have on their books. So it's a lot of testing and looking at all kinds of different things. I mean, I had experiences where I went to a company and we had to make sure the inventory that they said was what they actually had. So I had to go and count chickens one time, and I had to climb big oil silos and measure how much oil was in there to determine if, what they say they have on their books is actually what's in there, which is something I definitely didn't think I would be doing as an accountant. But it made, it kept things interesting. And so that was very, a great experience there. It's a lot of hours. It's, a lot of work, but it definitely is a good place to start in accounting, I think. It put me in front of a lot of my peers that I graduated with at Salisbury in accounting because, when employers see that you have public accounting on your resume, or especially like a big four company as KPMG was, the recruiters are reaching out to you nonstop. So that's always nice to have that, opportunity where you have actual options and you don't have to just go to one place. So from there, I worked at KPMG for 3 years. And then I just recently went into a private company called Regency Pet. And so now I work as an internal accountant. I'm a senior accountant there. And so now what I do, instead of going into other companies and checking their books and working with clients, I'm internal and I help my team keep track of our books and do month-end closing. We have a lot of acquisitions going on. So I help in the accounting process of getting our new acquisitions on board. And so I think one thing that a lot of people think when you think of accountant, you think of very introverted people and you think of you're sitting at your desk all day and you're not really interacting with anybody. But that's definitely something that I learned in my internship is certainly not true. Since I've started my career, I'm nonstop working in teams. I'm interacting with people all the time, whether it's the client or whether it's my team internally. we're always talking and communicating. And really most of the people I've met in accounting are not introverted people. They're actually very extroverted. So that was definitely a stereotype that wasn't true, that I found to not be true when I joined the field. So something I like to mention. And then, I think in the job, you learn a lot of, in any job in business, really, you're going to learn a lot of those soft skills and how to interact with people in a professional manner. And just learning organization and time management and, all of that, those kind of soft skills that are super important to be successful as a business professional. Trying to think what else. Let's see what other questions we have. So the different jobs in the accounting field. So I've had a couple different experiences. Like I said, I was an auditor, and now I'm also internal for a company. So in accounting, there's a million different opportunities you can do. And depending on what industry the company is that you're going to work for, that's going to change your job a lot. You could go work for a real estate company, and there's very different accounting work that you'll do at one of those companies compared to maybe a manufacturing company or a service company. So that kind of changes, what you're doing there. And then let's see. What else? Training. I think for training, when I was at KPMG, they did provide a lot of training. We would get to go on big week-long trips down to Orlando, and we would learn soft skills for the week. We would learn technical accounting work. And that was always nice because it was everyone from the country at our level would go for the week, and we would get to interact with people from all over the country and learn from people higher in the company. So that was really neat. And then, to keep the CPA credential, you have to keep up with continuing professional education. So there's certain requirements you have to meet every 2 years. And a lot of times you can do those online, and they'll offer courses because as time goes on, just like in any field, things evolve and you have to stay up to date on the different regulations and standards that are out there. So always keeping up on those. Let's see. One of the parts of the job that I find satisfying now when I'm working internally for a company, like I mentioned earlier, we are acquiring a lot of companies. And so some of these companies are kind of small mom and pop type shops. And so it's a unique experience that I have now where I get to talk to these people who have owned a company for, 25 years that they've been working on. And we get to come in and kind of help them. They're still a part of our team, but we're kind of helping them scale their business to something that they wouldn't have been able to do on their own. And so that's, a cool experience where I'm still young in my career, but I'm working with someone who has spent their whole life building this thing, and I get to learn from them and how they've gotten to where they are, and they kind of learning vice versa, some of the more technical things that they may not have known. So that's very unique, and I find that definitely satisfying. As far as lifestyle with my career, being an accountant, to be honest, you're not going to work a 40-hour week. A lot of times it's going to be more than that. But definitely with how things have become a lot more virtual, and just companies are evolving. And so now I feel like there's less pressure on, you have to be at your desk the entire day, don't get up from your desk, keep grinding the whole day. I think it's become a little bit more flexible, especially now that people are working from home. Most most employers that I've worked for and teams that I've worked for, they don't necessarily need me to be at my desk all day long. It's more about getting all my things done. As long as I get those done, that's what's important. It's not as much about the exact amount of time I put in. We don't clock in and clock out. It's just make sure you get your stuff done. So that's nice. It gets a little bit of flexibility. You can kind of leave in the day and go do a workout or go take your dog on a walk or do whatever and come back. Let's see. And then the economy affected my industry. So one of the good things about accountants and the accounting field is you're always going to be needed. There's definitely not a lack of jobs in this field at all. I mean, when I graduated from college, there were so many options out there. I will stress, while you're in college, and this is really for any career that you want to get into, to do internships. And maybe it's not going to be in something that you're super excited about or really want to be in, but you have to do something, because I've seen a lot of my friends who didn't do the internships or do any kind of experience work while they were in college. And, a lot of the jobs, the starting out jobs, still want you to have a little bit of experience in them. And so definitely doing something while you're in college that will, be able to go on your resume is important. But yeah, so there's a lot of options out there once you do get into the accounting field. And yeah, the economy didn't really do too, some businesses were shutting down, but there's still a lot of businesses out there growing and new businesses coming out. So it's definitely a skill that can be transferable, across the board. So yeah.